Welcome to the Strong Girl Goss podcast. Welcome back.
Welcome back, guys. Second episode of 2025.
I feel like it's like episode 23, I want to say.
I'm losing count.
Yeah, but we're deep into the 20s. We're staying consistent. Before we get into the episode, which today is going to be all about goal setting and giving you some prompts to hopefully set some goals to reach by the end of the year. But before we get into that, we thought that we'd start the episodes for January with a weekly reminder. Just a little reminder that comes to our brain. It could be literally about anything. So the one that I've got today, and I know that we've probably mentioned something like this in the past, but it's like how important it is to actually listen to your body and rest when required. Because I was unwell last week and I actually recovered in 4 days purely just because I rested. And I think sometimes you can drag things out, can't you, for so long just by feeling guilty for like not going to the gym. But actually I did myself favours because by just taking those 4 days rest, my recovery was so much faster and so much better. So that's my reminder of the week.
Well, we spoke a lot about 75 hard last week, so I'm not going to go into it at all today. But where we are seeing a lot on social media about these challenges, consistency in January, similar to what you just said, it's really important that you remember that rest is actually part of the process. And whatever your goal, it is actually going to help you get to that goal, and you need it to be able to get to that goal. You're not going to accelerate anything by not resting. So, yeah.
2 workouts a day.
Get away from me.
Okay.
Right, so today, guys, we wanted to really give you some prompts that basically are going to help you achieve your goals in 2025. I know you said 2024, but we see it a lot where it's a random goal, let's say. So it's like, I want to back squat 100 kg or whatever it is. And it's like, okay, you said you wanted to do that. Just because you said you want to do it, it doesn't mean it's magically going to happen. We need to break down step by step how we think that's going to look, month to month. What do we need to be doing to achieve that, week to week, day to day? So making sure that you are actually completing the actions and habits to ensure that you get to that goal by the end of 2025, instead of just saying you want to do it without knowing how to get there.
Yes, 100%. And I think breaking them down to like long, mid, short term goals, I guess like throwback to school, isn't it? But like it really just helps. So we're going to start first of all with setting your ultimate goal, like and not just one, like goals if you've got a few. Like what do you want to achieve in 12 months? What do you want to achieve by the end of 2025? And then making them a little bit more digestible. Like what do you want to achieve in 6 months to ensure that you do get there? And then even further, 3 months. So starting off with 12 months first.
I think it's really important, especially with a 12-month goal, because personally, I don't know about you, I really struggle to visualize 12 months in advance. It's a long time. I think we underestimate. I know years go quickly, but thinking about next year, I'm like, oh my God, can we just do January 1st? So I understand it can be a bit overwhelming, but it's really helpful to understand what you need to be doing now. So I think if you're a little bit like me and 12-month goals, you're a bit like, well, I don't know how I'm going to feel. Think about how you want to feel instead of things maybe that are tangible and achievable. Think about, okay, going into 2026, how do I want to feel in my life? How do I want to feel in my body, in my habits, in my routine? Thinking about feelings that you can just jot down on a page really, really helps you understand what the overall goal is. So let's say I wanted to feel healthy. What does that look like for me? And what does a marker of feeling healthy look like for me? It might be eating consistently 3 balanced meals a day. I know I've hit that goal if by in 12 months I do feel healthy. So thinking about what that goal looks like for you, but also how it feels.
Yeah, I think visualization is honestly so helpful. Like you can do it for so many different areas of your life, but like just like Ella was saying there, it's like thinking about how do you want to feel? What does life look like? What gym are you going to? What are you achieving in the gym? What style of training that are you doing? What are the habits that you are consistent with every single day that are supporting you and serving you? So I think that's definitely a really good way to go about it. But if you want to pause this episode at any point, just to jot some things down, because I'm a big believer in like write it down and it will happen. Like it's okay just thinking about these things and visualizing them and thinking that would be nice, but if you actually want to make it something that is your reality, you want to be thinking about reflecting, visualizing, and then writing it down, and then from there you can then set points, set actionables to ensure that it does happen and does become your reality.
Yeah, I think getting it out of your brain is definitely always the first step.
I would also be splitting them, and this is for 12, 6, and 3, so we'll go into it a little bit more, but I would be splitting them into different categories. So, like, for example, gym and performance, like I set my goals in different areas. Gym and performance would be one. So, what I'm talking about there is like, it doesn't have to be to the point, but it might be that a goal is to improve your back squat this year, and you want to be squatting more. And if you do know numbers, then great, put it down. But I do sometimes think that getting really to the point can be quite pressurizing, because then if you don't achieve it, it can do the reverse. But it really just depends on what kind of person you are. You have to kind of decide if like that's going to motivate you more, or it's actually if it's going to drag you down. So yeah, gym and performance, I would be thinking about, okay, what do I want to be achieving by the end of this year? Is that number related? If you are a weightlifting strength training gal, which I'm hoping you are if you're listening to this, is that trying a different style of training? Like, is that you've seen the Hyrox trend, and do you know what, you actually want to set yourself the goal by doing a Hyrox by the end of the year, or whatever it is. Like, just really, it's got to be relevant for you, right? It might be going out for your first 10k run, or being able to run around the park with your kids without getting out of breath. It really has to be relevant for you. There's no good in us sharing our gym and performance goals, because it's just not going to serve you. So I'll be taking a second now to actually pause if you want to, and open up your notes app on your phone, or getting out your notebook and pen if you like to do it that way, and writing down the category gym, performance, and like, what are 1 to 3 things that you really want to achieve by the end of the year. Maybe you've got more than 1 to 3, and if you have, then amazing, start listing them. But I would say, like, focus on less. Like, if you can focus on like a small quantity of goals, it's going to feel less overwhelming.
Yeah, I think what you said about it being relevant to you is so important. And not only relevant to you, but thinking about what motivates you.
Yeah.
So for me, talking about Hyrox, I had a Hyrox booked in for last October. I did barely any training for it because competition just does not motivate me in that way. What does motivate me is having a healthy heart and lungs. That will motivate me more to do cardio than a competition will, because I'm not competitive. So thinking about what is relevant for you and your goals and how you're going to motivate yourself to get there.
Yeah, but if you haven't already, give it a pause and give it a go.
Pause.
But then we'll move on to next, a different category, which would be kind of just like health, wellness, habits. Like, what are you doing daily to support your health? And like, the gym might be one of them, but on the flip side, instead of like writing down what you want to achieve in the gym, we're now thinking, okay, like, am I going to make a promise myself by the end of this year that I want to be going to the gym 4 times per week consistently? Am I going to actually try that new style of training because it's really good for my heart and lungs? And I know that I'm just weightlifting all the time, and actually I would benefit from doing a bit of cardio. I know I probably should, do that. Or it could be something like, by the end of this year, I want to be able to be drinking this amount of water per day, because I know that when I'm hydrated, I'm feeling my best. And these kind of goals can feel a bit like, they're not important. Like, I think people think goal setting is like, I want to drive a Ferrari and I want to buy this house. And it's like, move away from materialistic things, focus on, like, say, feelings and like habits and things that are going to make you feel good, because that is what's going to change your life this year, and like what's going to make you feel really great is by getting consistent with those. So yeah, do you want to add anything on to that?
I think one thing I will say before we move on to 6-month goals is, when you look at a year, you think, like what you just said about drinking water, I want to be drinking 2 litres of water per day. You could easily think, oh, well, I could just start doing that from tomorrow. But life gets in the way. And if you think about all these habits and all these goals that you could be implementing from tomorrow, it's going to overwhelm you and you're not going to achieve any of them. So just making sure you've got a really clear roadmap, which leads us nicely into how we set our 6 and 3-month goals to get you to that 12, will make sure that when you are at that 12-month point, you are in the place you want to be to achieve those goals. So going into your 6-month goals, they're going to be a little bit more kind of in reach than your 12-month goals. So they can be a little bit more closer to kind of what you are currently doing, I would say. But I'd also work backwards from the 12 months. So break down what that big 12-month goal is into what you need to achieve by the 6-month point.
Yeah, so taking like the back squat for an example, like if you know that you want to squat 100 kg by the end of this year, is your 6-month goal to get to that 80 or 90, depending on, again, like where you are at. I think it's important to obviously be realistic as well. Like if you are currently using that example again, if you're currently squatting 40 kg, like it's a bit out of, a bit out of reach to put 100 kg as your goal. So just remember to make the goals realistic, just so you don't get disheartened by them. And not going off on a tangent, but kind of going off on a tangent, just a reminder, like these goals, again, like stop looking at people on the internet and what they're doing. Like you actually have to sit and think, like, do I care about that? Because over the years, I have 100% done that. I'm like, right, I want to do this and I want to do that. And actually, when I look at it now, I'm like, that didn't serve me. That actually wasn't for me at all. But it can be really easy to get lost in what everyone else is doing, like taking HYROX as a trend. Like, again, I've got nothing against that. I actually signed up for one and then didn't make it because it just, again, this is a perfect example. I signed up and I jumped on the hype of getting onto the HYROX train when it was coming around the corner. I know it wasn't for me. Like I was doing it like because everyone else was. In simple, I was being a sheep. So you have to kind of think about like what is the goals that I want to achieve. I want to achieve, and that matter to me, not to everyone else. But yeah, so working backwards, like again, separate them. You've got gym and performance, and you've got more like health, lifestyle, habits, those kind of things. And obviously, this is your health and fitness goal setting prompts. But if you want to add even like a personal category alongside whilst you're doing it, it's going to be the same format of setting your 12-month, then breaking it down to your 6-month and working from the 12 months, just like Ella was saying. So making sure that like they are all kind of interlinked and they are all like, relevant under one another. Then a bunch of different goals at the 6 and then the 3, they're not really adding up. Like it's got to be quite seamless, hasn't it? So
yeah, I think as well, 6 months is a really good kind of check-in point.
yeah.
So for me, for example, I know at the end of 2023, I set 2024 goals that I definitely checked in with throughout the year. And there was one point, not very often, but like, let's say it was at the 6-7 month mark. And I was like, I don't want that anymore.
Yeah.
That doesn't align with A, my other goals, and B, the life I'm trying to create. And there is no shame in being like, I'm going to delete that from the list because it's actually going to take away from my other goals and I don't want it anymore. 12 months, as much as it goes by really fast, it's long and you can change a lot in that time, especially if you are putting your efforts into changing your lifestyle, bettering yourself, whether that be in the gym or outside of the gym. You can change, and giving yourself permission to be flexible on that list is really important. So I always think that the 6-month mark as well is a really good point to just check in with yourself and go, right, do we need to change anything here?
Yeah. So if you haven't already, I definitely would be pausing and just again writing those down, to like breaking those 12 months down into 6 months, and almost going to the extent of writing the date that you are listening to this 6 months on, put it in your calendar to check back in, because it is like actually taking action on what will make the biggest difference. Because you could go off and set these goals today, guys, and like if you don't check back in with them, like Ella was saying, like the year could pass you by and you've not got any closer to them, or you're working towards something that actually doesn't even serve you anymore. So then that was going to bring us on quite nicely to the 3 months. So 3 months is going to feel more exciting because it's things that you can start working on today, and you can start working on now and really start achieving. So going back again, working down your list of those goals that you have set, and now you've broken them down into your 6 months. How can we break them down even further to the 3 months? Because this is what is going to make them a reality. And I think that's really exciting about goal setting. Like, as long as you are, of course, being realistic in some way, like you can make all of your goals happen, but you've got to be able to break them down and set them into actionable points. So your 3 month goal, going back to the back squat example again, could be that you're going to be going to the gym 4 times a week and you're actually going to be squatting on 2 of those days because that is your goal. Like, there's no point in saying, I want to squat 100 kg and then you haven't even got any squats in your program. Like, make it make sense. Like, it needs to all add up.
Definitely. And I think with your 3 month goals, they are definitely going to look more habit based than outcome based. I think a lot of the time we overestimate what we can do in 3 months and underestimate what we can do in 12. That's a trend we tend to see quite a lot, like with myself included. I'm like, oh, in 3 months, this will be happening, this will be happening. And it's like, you might have the wheels in motion for those things to happen. But a lot of the time, 3 months really does pass us by quite quickly. It's going to be the end of March, right? In 3 months. And what we would like in order to be reaching our 6-12 months goals is to have worked out what habits we need to be implementing daily to achieve those 6 and 12 months goals and have them down by the 3 month mark. I think you can definitely set tangible goals for 3 months, 100%, but I think they are going to look more habit based and routine based because you've set those 6 and 12.
Yes, 100%. And going back to what you was just saying about like focusing on like an outcome, like it's amazing to get to the end of the year and getting your 100 kg back squat, like the goal that you've set and celebrating it. But the reality is that you've got to put in the work to get there. And like in the early months, like you were saying, it might be more like you're putting in the graph and you're just ticking the boxes and you're showing up consistently. And you know what? You're not seeing that instant reward all of the time. Like, you might see a bit of progress here and there, but it is really a case of just like it's playing the long game, isn't it? Especially with those ultimate goals, like goals that you have set to reach by the end of the year. There's a reason that you've set it to reach them by the end of the year. They're not going to happen overnight, and they're also not going to happen if you don't put your mind to them. And this is a bit of a harsh kind of sentence, I guess, but I really do like the sentence of only you can make it happen. Like, only you can make it happen. Do you know, I really, really don't like the victim mentality of being like, oh, well, it's never going to happen for me, or like, but like, you can make it happen, but only you can. And I'm really, really big believer in that. Like, I'm not ever going to blame someone else for not reaching my goals. Like, it's me that needs to show up to the gym every week. It's me that needs to prioritize my squats if I want to get that 100 kg back squat. Again, taking another example. So honestly, like, take responsibility. Take responsibility for your goals and go make them happen, because they can happen.
Yeah, I think if weightlifting has taught me one thing is, I think before I started lifting, I used to think that people achieve things on luck. And it's like, oh, well, they're just lucky. But weightlifting has literally taught me that if you go to the gym however many times a week, every week, you keep adding weight to that barbell, you will get to that 100 kg. It is just science. It will happen. So it's important to remember you create your own luck.
Yeah, you absolutely do. But we hope this has been helpful. And if you haven't, if actually paused this at any point, remember that you do need to go and sit and write them down. Like, hopefully it's lit a fire in you somewhere, and just go and write those 12, 6 and 3 months down, and honestly set yourself little reminders in your calendar at those points to check back in with them, because you will thank yourself at the end of 2025 when you have done this, because you're going to be sat there having achieved all the goals that you have set. So we hope that it's been helpful. And thank you so much for tuning in. But we will see you next week for our little next January series of motivating episodes.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
See you later.
Bye.